Hello everybody, I've been asked to do a quick tutorial about the power energy distribution system and how it works in 3.0, and I hope this kind of helps a few people out. A lot of people may have already discovered this on their own, or maybe somebody's discovered partial amounts of this information, and hopefully what you learn in here might help you just to further connect the dots of what you've already discovered. So with that, I'm going to start by talking about some misconceptions I had originally and ones that have been shared by a great many people. Now, even in 2.6, the gaming system allows you to alter your energy distribution between one of three various systems. And just before I get too into this, those systems are your weapon systems, your shields, and your engines. Now, what happens is, like this, I'm going to give you some examples right now. Like, this is the weapons. That's my weapons firing rate. Now, if I put all power to the weapons, it fires exactly the same. It doesn't fire further, it doesn't do any more damage. I've actually done experiments into this. It's exactly the same. That's because that's not the way this works. Now, my misconception was if I put all power over here to the weapons, I was going to get some kind of benefit for doing so. I was going to get a further range or more damage, and I thought if I gave more power to my shields, it would overclock the shields somehow and give me, larger size shields. It would recharge faster. Or if I gave more power over here to my engines, I would move faster. And that's not true at all. No matter how you distribute your energy, your components are all going to be working optimally all the time. They're always going to be working at full power. Now, where this really comes into play is when there's a discrepancy in the amount of power you're pulling in, when there's a deficiency in the amount of energy you have. And I'm going to show you really easily how to demonstrate that. Now, if we come down over here, this is the amount of energy, well, this represents how much energy that I'm going to need in order to run every one of the components I have in my system. And this shows you how much energy I actually have available. And this red bar is the discrepancy between those two numbers. Now right now I have it set up so that power is going to be going evenly amongst all these three systems regardless of how much drain I have on them. And unfortunately my engines are showing that the worst right now. That's why they're in red. But what you can do is you can alter that to give a priority to one of these other systems over the other. Now if I back off and look right now, my weapons are greatly depreciated in the amount of power, and that's going to show in their rate of fire, and that's opposed to the way they were before, which I'll show you really quickly, as opposed to that. Now, just to demonstrate how this kind of works, once again, that's my rate of fire with the energy drain. Now, if I come over here and make my guns a priority, I'm not getting 100% power to them right now, but they're going to be firing a lot quicker. And if I gave all power to them, they're firing close to optimally again. And obviously, I took all power away from my engines, so I'm giving full thrust to my engines and nothing's happening. But if I came down here, and I gave all power to my engines, now they're running fine again. See, that's how the energy distribution system works. Really in kind of a nutshell. So, in summation, what it really kind of comes down to is if you're fine, if there's no discrepancy in your power and you're getting plenty power to everything, this really isn't going to matter. It only really kicks in, let's get it full even, it only really kicks in when you have a lack of power coming into your various components. And then you got to choose, what do you want to have running? You know, what's your priority? What do you value the most? Like if I was running something like a saber, I would definitely be favoring the shields. But if I was running something more in lines of a Hornet or Super Hornet, I would be favoring probably the engines and weapons over here, and realizing if my shields went down, I would just let my armor tank the damage for the time being. So that's how that kind of works. I'm going to show you one other thing that I found really interesting, and that's over here in this section. These are the various attributes your components are going to have. And ideally, you know, there's the amount of power it drains. Or actually the amount of power that it requires to run optimally. There's the health, and obviously if the health goes down to 0, it's not going to work at all. It's going to require you to repair it. And then wear, and they haven't really said a lot about wear right now, but I can venture a guess as to what that's going to do. I assume that as wear goes up, the efficiency of your component is probably going to go down. And I don't know if you can fix that. I don't know if like once the wear goes 100%, you just have to get rid of it, or can you repair it and make that wear go down? We'll just have to see in the future. And over here is heat. Now, heat is like the combined heat from all your components is going to be your heat signature. And this is going to be very important when it comes to stealth, or when it comes to dealing with certain weapons that are going to be tracking you via your heat signature. And while we're on here the subject of shields, and that's just something I want to show you just really quickly too. To get to your power management, go to the menu, energy, and it'll bring you to this screen right here. And to get your power back to normal, just drag that slider to the right like that and you'll be fine. But going back here to the idea of shields, and I wanted to show you this because I found this to be really interesting, and I kind of wanted to relay this to you guys. Each one of these shield faces is kind of like a mini capacitor where it holds a charge, and it's going to cost you 120 power to maintain that charge. So if I lose power at all to the system, these immediately start draining of energy.
Shield system online.
Now when I turn it back on, it's going to cost me 240 now while this is regenerating the shields.
Shield system online.
Now that's going to be a very important thing to realize when you're trying to do energy management, because it only costs me 120 to maintain these shields, but after they start tanking damage and they go down and they need to regenerate, this number is going to skyrocket. And if you don't have the amount of available energy to cover this need, then you're either not going to regenerate, or you're going to regenerate at a very slow rate. Or if you take your amount of power going to these systems, they're not going to regenerate all the way. And that's something to really kind of think about. And all of these things affect your elements like your heat, your EM, and your IR, because as you turn certain elements off or as you reduce the power going to them, these numbers go down, which once again, like I said before, is going to be very important when you're talking about elements of stealth or things that are going to be tracking you via heat or via your EM signature or your IR signature. So you can just kind of see, well, just one little thing really kind of quickly. This interface right here kind of reminds me of something that's really easy to use if you're like a single-seater pilot ship and you don't have somebody else who can manage all these things for you. And this is a quick way for you just to on the fly to get certain systems up and running again if they get knocked out. And ideally, like, so what's going to cause these drains in power? Well, it's going to be if you're tanking damage to certain aspects of your ship, or if your wear goes all the way up and you have failure from one of these systems. And if that happens, you're going to have to really make a quick decision as to what you want to get back online and what you consider to be really important based on what your current situation is and what kind of ship that you're flying in. So I just want to relay that to people. I kind of hope this helps some people out, maybe explains a few things about the way this whole system works. And it just shows you a lot of the potential in what we're going to be dealing with, not only as a pilot, but the things that people can play around with when you're a co-pilot or you're in what they've been calling an engineer station later on. So once again, I hope this has helped you out. Thank you for sticking around and listening, and I hope to see you again.